Have you ever actually stopped to just wonder how our bodies manage to run 24/7? I mean, absolutely nonstop, without ever needing to be plugged into a wall? Think about it. Even when we're fast asleep, out cold, there is this massive, completely automated biological mega factory working relentlessly inside us. Well, in today's explainer, we're jumping right into the incredible world of life processes. We're going to explore the amazing internal machinery that literally keeps you going every single day.
So, first things first, what exactly do we mean by life processes? Basically, these are the essential maintenance jobs performed by living organisms just to maintain their life on Earth. It's way more than just breathing. It's a full-on, totally integrated maintenance operation. And as we go through this explainer together, I really want you to keep one guiding mindset in your head, like a core mantra. Ready? Form always follows function. That means we need to look at exactly why our biological structures are built the way they are, because as you'll see, their design perfectly matches their job.
All right, let's map out our factory blueprint for today. We're looking at 4 major departments. Number 1, nutrition. Number 2, respiration. Number 3, transportation. And number 4, excretion. And hey, for those of you prepping for exams right now, mastering these 4 logic-driven systems is absolutely crucial, because this single topic usually carries a massive 7 to 10 marks. So let's get into it.
Department number 1, nutrition, processing the fuel.
Okay, so every factory needs fuel, right? But organisms get it in 2 totally different ways. On one hand, you've got autotrophs, like green plants. They're completely self-sufficient. They magically, well, scientifically, turn light energy from the sun into chemical energy, like carbohydrates, through photosynthesis. But us? We're heterotrophs. We absolutely rely on consuming other organisms for our food, simply because we can't just stand in the sun and produce it ourselves. Kind of wish we could, but we can't.
So, for us heterotrophs, fuel processing is this highly organized 5-step assembly line. We call it holozoic nutrition. It kicks off with ingestion, which is literally just taking the solid food into your mouth. Then comes digestion, where we break that complex food down into simple molecules. Next up is absorption, which is moving those broken down nutrients right into the bloodstream. Then assimilation, actually using those nutrients for energy and growth. And finally, egestion, carefully getting rid of the undigested waste. It's a beautifully perfect assembly line.
Now, to make that digestion step actually happen, our body brings in these specific chemical workers. Our salivary glands kick things off right in the mouth by secreting amylase to break down complex carbs. Then, down in the stomach, gastric glands secrete pepsin to tackle proteins, and they get some help from hydrochloric acid. After that, the liver steps in. It secretes bile to emulsify, or basically smash apart, the fats, and the pancreas secretes trypsin and lipase to finish the job. Basically, they're bathing our food in these intense chemical juices just to extract the raw materials we need to survive.
But let's shift gears and look back at plants for a quick second. Remember how plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis? Well, they have what I like to call automated security gates. These dynamic little pores on the surface of leaves are called stomata, and they're controlled by guard cells. When the plant factory needs carbon dioxide, these guard cells literally swell up to open the pore. But if the plant is losing way too much water through transpiration, they shrink right back down, locking the gates to prevent water loss. I mean, it's just an incredibly smart, fully automated mechanism.
All right, moving on to section 2, respiration, generating ultimate power.
Okay, I really need to clear up a super common misconception here. Breathing is not the same thing as respiration. Actually, breathing is just a physical process. It's just a mechanical exchange of gases where we take in fresh oxygen and push out impure carbon dioxide using our lungs. Respiration, on the other hand, that is a chemical process. It's the actual breakdown of food inside our cells to release energy. So breathing is really just step 1 of the whole respiration process.
Now, that chemical breakdown happens in 2 distinct ways. And honestly, teachers love testing this dynamic. First, you have aerobic respiration. This happens in the presence of oxygen right inside the cell's mitochondria, and it leads to a complete breakdown of food. Then you have anaerobic respiration. This happens without oxygen right out in the cytoplasm, and it only results in an incomplete breakdown.
And the difference in energy output between those two? It is staggering. Look at this number 38. That is the massive amount of ATP, which is our body's ultimate energy currency, generated by just a single cycle of aerobic respiration. Compare that to anaerobic respiration, which generates a measly 2 ATP. Oh, and by the way,
If you've ever had those intense muscle cramps after a heavy run, that's because your active muscles literally ran out of oxygen and temporarily had to switch to that low-efficiency anaerobic process, which builds up painful lactic acid as a byproduct. Crazy, right?
Let's see how this ties perfectly back to our core mantra, form follows function. I mean, how do we get enough oxygen to fuel that massive 38 ATP aerobic engine? We do it through our lungs, specifically at the very end of our respiratory line in these tiny structures called alveoli. They look like microscopic balloons. And why balloon-shaped? Because puffing them out like that dramatically maximizes the surface area for incredibly rapid, massive gas exchange. They are built absolutely perfectly to let oxygen quickly diffuse right into our blood and carbon dioxide to easily diffuse out. Form follows function.
Which brings us to Section 3, Transportation, the Delivery Network.
So this transport network relies on a really special fluid medium, our blood. And it's not just red liquid. It's composed of 4 highly specialized parts. First, we have plasma, this straw-colored fluid mostly made of water that carries the food and the waste. Then our red blood cells. They use an iron-rich pigment called hemoglobin to carry oxygen, which, by the way, is exactly what gives blood its red color. We also have white blood cells, acting like our internal security force to defend against infections. And finally, platelets. They're basically the emergency repair crew, making sure our blood clots if we ever get a cut or scrape.
But here's the thing. Blood can't just move on its own. It needs a pump. Think of the 4-chambered human heart directly as a 24/7 delivery app. Its entire job, day in and day out, without ever stopping, is to constantly dispatch oxygen-rich supplies to your cells while simultaneously picking up the carbon dioxide waste so it can be filtered out.
Our heart is split into 4 chambers. The top 2 are the atria, and the bottom 2 are the ventricles. And here, form follows function shines brightly yet again. Just look at the difference in their walls. The ventricles have remarkably thicker, much more muscular walls compared to the atria. Why is that? Well, the atria just sort of passively receive incoming blood. The ventricles, though, they have to aggressively pump that blood out across your entire body under really high pressure. So they absolutely need that extra muscle to get the job done.
This architecture leads us straight to a critical topic, usually worth about 5 marks on an exam: double circulation. See, blood actually flows through our heart twice in one complete cycle. First, the body sends deoxygenated blood to the right side of the heart. Second, the right side pumps it over to the lungs to get oxygenated. Third, that fresh oxygen-rich blood returns to the left side of the heart. And finally, the left side pumps it all the way out to the entire body. Since humans are warm-blooded, our energy demands are sky-high. So this strict separation ensures that pure oxygenated blood and impure deoxygenated blood absolutely never ever mix. So, how does the blood actually travel around? Through our vascular highways, the blood vessels. Arteries carry the pure blood away from the heart. And because the heart pumps at such an intense high pressure, arteries must have thick elastic walls to handle it. On the flip side, veins bring the impure blood back to the heart under much lower pressure, so their walls are a lot thinner. But here's the really clever part. Veins feature special one-way valves. These valves make sure blood only flows in one direction and doesn't just pull down in your legs because of gravity.
Just doing a quick detour back to the plant transportation system, they have their own vascular highways too. Plants primarily use 2 main tissues. Xylem acts kind of like a one-way straw, unidirectionally pulling water and minerals straight up from the roots using a physical pull. Phloem, however, is a bidirectional highway. It transports the food that's prepared in the leaves both up and down the plant, wherever it's needed. And unlike the xylem, this actually requires energy in the form of ATP.
And finally, Section 4, excretion, ultimate waste management. Look, every single manufacturing process creates waste, right? Excretion is the biological process of removing harmful nitrogenous metabolic waste from the body. Now, it's super important to note here, we are not talking about undigested food. That was egestion. This is about the toxic chemical byproducts like urea and uric acid generated by our cells constantly working. Clearing out these toxic materials is an absolute necessity to maintain our internal balance, a steady state known as homeostasis. If we didn't do this, toxic buildup would literally crash the entire factory in no time.
The absolute heroes of this waste management system are kidneys. And honestly, this statistic just completely blew my mind. Inside a single kidney, there are approximately 1.2 million microscopic filtering units called nephrons. Just think about that for a second.
That's over 1 million tiny, highly sophisticated chemical sorting facilities packed right into one little bean-shaped organ.
So, how does a nephron actually work? Well, it filters your blood in 3 extremely precise steps. First up, blood enters this cup-shaped structure called the Bowman's capsule under really high pressure for an initial rough filtration. Next, as the fluid travels through the U-shaped Henle's loop, your body smartly reabsorbs all the useful things that might have accidentally slipped through. Stuff like excess water, amino acids, and glucose. Finally, what's left at the end of the line is strictly the harmful nitrogenous waste, which is secreted as urine to be sent to the bladder and eventually expelled.
From the specific enzymes digesting your food, to the microscopic alveoli capturing oxygen, to that powerhouse double-pumping heart, and the literal millions of nephrons filtering your blood, every single piece of you is perfectly designed. Its form brilliantly follows its function. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with this awe-inspiring thought. How does this mechanical, microscopic universe inside you fight so relentlessly to keep you alive 24/7? Just think about that level of dedication happening inside you right now. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you in our next deep dive.